I want to thank you for tuning to this short video. What I'm going to attempt to show you today is how to apply the HO aluminum roofing panels. These panels are very similar to what you would see in an industrial application, and they're meant to be not put on as whole strips, but to actually be put on as sections. That's the way they would be put on normally. I typically go about 5/8 of an inch. You could go a little bit more. I mean, you could actually really do whatever you want. These particular strips that I manufacture are rolled out on dies, metal dies. And so what tends to happen sometimes with these is that you'll get some drifting. So as you can maybe see on this piece, these vertical lines are all pretty much straight. Then you get over here and some are a little bit slanted. That's not a problem because these strips have at least a good 3/8. As you can see here, because this is 1.25 inches, so you have a good 3/8 of an inch that's gonna be under the next layer. So there's you're overlapping each layer, so you got 3/8 of an inch play on this, which is enough to make up for any errors. So I'm going to show you kind of just kind of give you an idea. I'm going to cut this piece, and this will be my first panel. I didn't get that very squared up, so I'll square that up. Okay, so there's my first panel. Okay, now the key with this is when you take the backing off, got to be kind of gentle because they can be delicate. So you take that. Sometimes too, I take an X-Acto blade, and you can pry them up. Okay, so that's your panel, and I'm going to pretend this is a sloped roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick that down like that. Now you don't want to press it too hard, but just enough to get it to adhere like that. Okay, and then your next layer, you're going to do this, obviously do this very same thing. And I'm not really measuring these because I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, but so you're going to do the next one. And what I like to do is I don't want everything to be perfect. In the real world, especially in industrial settings, you don't see perfection in their roofs or stuff like that. Usually they're beat up and have dents and all kinds of little things in them. So I'm going to stick that one down. Just press on it, not real hard, but enough. So you can leave some of the ends up a little bit if you want. Can be a good look, depending on how weathered you're going to do with your building. Now, what I wanted to show you here is now where I was talking about these strips where sometimes it gets it drifts, so it's not quite square. So what I'm going to do as far as a panel goes for that, what I'll do is I'll cut my normal 5/8 inch section, and then I'll just square it up. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just going to cut this bottom and square it up. And so there's my panel. Now you can also make sure your ridges are squared up. I didn't get that one too great there, but okay, so there's my panel. So you can see that even though that was slanted somewhat, it is still very much usable. So don't think that that is a problem, because it's not. Okay, so you're gonna, again, put the next panel on, and You're just going to keep doing that in succession. Now, what you want to do, I'm going to show you when you're starting your next layer. Now again, I'm going to use a piece that's got to be squared up a little bit, so it's very simple. You just square the edge up, and there you go. So now the next process is you're going to go and do your next layer. Now at every seam you're going to want to stagger the next row up. So there's my seam right here, and so I'm going to put the next layer up. I'm going to put it right over that seam, and this is where you got to be very careful, okay, because you don't want this edge here to show through on your next layer. It just doesn't look right. It's not supposed to be like that. So you don't want to press down too hard in this area so that this edge shows through. It'll ruin the whole thing. It'll look like it's not right. So you can see how I did that. And then I'm going to show you again. We'll just do some more just to kind of get the idea. Square that one up a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to do that next one. And again, it's going to, be staggered. The seams are going to be staggered, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So you continue, layer after layer, depending on how many layers you're going to go up on your layout. And, like I said, there's sometimes you don't have perfection, obviously, and you could put, maybe a little mark like it had gotten dented. You could have an end curl up like this, a little bit. I've even seen, somewhere to put a little bit of a mark on the side, a little bit like that. It's up to you, however you want to do it. So once you get your whole roof covered like this, then that's when you're going to want to do your finishing. And primarily what I do is I use gray primer, spray paint, flat primer, and go over it with that. And just spray it. You don't have to go real heavy with it, but just enough to cover the panels. And then that's when you're going to want to go in and you're going to want to weather it. I'm not going to do all that here. I'm just kind of explaining the weathering process is with the spray paint being oil based. It works. I found it works a lot better because with the acrylic, what happens when you weather it then with acrylic on top, sometimes that base layer will come off or start to drift off, and I've had projects kind of be screwed up because of that. So that's my experience. Doesn't mean that you can't do it. I know there's guys that totally use acrylic, and that's fine. You can work with that. Maybe what I would suggest is maybe take it a small, one panel, paint it with the acrylic, and then weather it and just see, play with it and see how it works out. And if it works, that's great. Whatever works for you. So then as far as the weathering process, you're going to actually take the acrylic paint and you're going to water it down. So it's, you don't want it, definitely don't want it full strength. And then you're going to take a brush and you're going to kind of paint it on. You can even dab it on to get the effect of weathering, to get the effect of dirt. What you can do also is you can, if you're dabbing it on, you can dabble. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll dabble more of the darker dirt areas underneath the edge, because that's typically how you would see it. And, you know, if you want a lot of that, that's fine. Or if you want a little bit of it, that's fine. It's up to you. You can also, you don't necessarily have to spray these with light gray primer. You can use a darker gray primer, and you can also use a flat black primer. It's up to you as far as that goes. And then what's also a really nice touch after you do the weathering process is you can apply different dusting powders. I have a rust colored one that I like to use, and I take a brush and I'll kind of make little streaks down so it looks like maybe there was a rust spot there, and the, you know, as rust tends to do, it'll run down from wherever that hole was at or wherever that spot is at. So you kind of try to simulate that. And it's amazing once you get the whole thing done how realistic it looks. I will be doing a video where I'll actually do the paint finishing. So this is basically primarily to show you how to apply each panel and how to layer it. You know, if you receive a panel, every once in a while, you know, when I'm processing these, sometimes, you know, there might be a little bit of a mark or whatever. I mean, if you absolutely don't want that in there, you know, I would just advise you to cut that part out. I try to make sure that they don't have any big glaring issues with them. So, you know, you should have a pretty good experience with these. Just be patient, and like I said, you know, if they're slanted, just square them up a little bit and then apply them on, and you should be good to go. You can apply these on, you know, if you're building a building, you know, from scratch, you can use them for that. And these are also really, really nice to apply to, you know, Walthers or whatever type of buildings that you use in industrial situations, because these tend to be a little bit more realistic than even the plastic. The plastic tends to look plastic. You know, no edges are sticking up or whatever. So I tend to like to use these on top, and they work great with that too. So I appreciate you checking out this video. If you can hit like and subscribe and hit the bell, like I said, I'm gonna be posting videos on how to finish them. You know, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll help you however I can. And you know, once you get your project, if you can post a photo of it, I would love to see. That would be awesome. So I really appreciate your purchase, and like I said, if you need anything, don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you.